Hello YouTubers, this is Banglefar with the second rendition of Final Fantasy Hero Bouts. This time we're pairing off two of my favorite characters. We have Cloud Strife versus Zidane Tribal. So let's not waste any time and let's hop right into the first category. Cloud Strife conveniently starts off at level 7, and it certainly shines through when he fights the first two enemies of the game, these two stupid fucking Shinra guards. Cloud cuts through them like a hot knife through butter thanks to the fact that he wields a sword far bulkier than he looks. Claiming to be an ex-soldier now turned rogue for the resistance group Avalanche, you can really see this character shine on the battlefield thanks to the simple but addictive materia system. Selecting these marble-like chunks of crystallized Mako and placing them into both your armor slots and weapons, you are capable of inflicting incredible feats. Your basic types of materia are magic use, summoning, command, support, and independence. All materia tends to have a negative effect though, as some materia inhibit some of the user's original stats, like defects, include decreases in strength, decreases in HP, and shit like that when you equip it. Aside from that, Cloud Strife ends up being capable of just about everything that his companions are capable of, which makes him not really any different than anyone else in the game. The diversity of this character comes when you're introduced to limit breaks, which is where Cloud shines with various finishing moves, most famously when he slices the living shit out of you with Omni Slash. Zidane Tribal starts off like the traditional hero of earlier Final Fantasy games, which is level 1. I wouldn't be griping about this, but considering his story, which I will get into later, he should at least be on par, if not even a higher level than Cloud, given his lifestyle with the Band of Thieves Tantalus. Abilities are learned by equipping an item that can teach an ability, and getting enough ability points to learn it permanently. Zidane has various skills and moves in which only he can do. Being a thief, he starts off with the steal ability. While this may not be as customizable as Final Fantasy VII's materia system, 9 does give you the awesome flexibility of having 4 characters in your party at the same time. Gone are the limit breaks of 7, only to be replaced with one of the dumbest fucking gauges of the series, the transmeter. When this bar fills up, your characters physically change and their abilities also change. With Zidane, he becomes a Super Saiyan. When he becomes a Super Saiyan, he has his thievery skills replaced with something that's pretty badass called dying skills. Had you been able to control the way this gauge fills up, or something around the idea like the magic spell Aura did in Final Fantasy VIII, this might have actually been a neat idea, but still, Zidane's final dying, Grand Lethal, it'd certainly give anybody a run for their money. Unfortunately, that's not enough for Zidane to hold his own against Cloud. Point goes to Cloud. Which brings us to our next section, personalities. To condense all of Cloud Strife's history in under 10 minutes is nearly impossible, so I'll be brief. Cloud was a kid from Nibelheim that fell in love with the hot chick of the town, Tifa. Because she didn't recognize him at first, he joined the Shinra Corporation in hopes of becoming a badass like Sephiroth, an esteemed soldier first class. Unfortunately, he doesn't make it into that section before returning home with Zack, his best friend aiding him into becoming a better candidate for soldier, and Sephiroth himself during an incident at Nibelheim. What happens next rocks Cloud's life forever. Sephiroth goes batshit, slaughters everyone in the town including his mother, and nearly kills Tifa. Filled with rage, he finds Zack barely alive, takes up the famous Buster Sword, and kills Sephiroth with rage and determination, something that shocks the powerful soldier after impaling a lowly Shinra guard, only to be lifted from his footing and cast to his death. When the investigation begins in Nibelheim, Hojo, a professor from the Shinra Corporation, decides to experiment on the one that killed Sephiroth, and thus begins Cloud's descent into madness. Before too much damage can be done, Zack breaks out and saves Cloud, taking him away from Nibelheim to head to Midgar. He suggests becoming mercenaries and knows a place to crash with his old girlfriend, which turns out to be Aerith. Zack is killed before reaching Midgar, and the Shinra guards leave Cloud for dead given his broken state. Taking the Buster Sword, he manages to get to Midgar where Tifa conveniently finds him near the train station in Sector 7. His mind is warped, and over time he explains events that belong to Zack and not himself due to his grief at not becoming what he wanted to be for Tifa. So basically he wanders the world for a few years thinking he is someone else due to experiments. Then Sephiroth toys with his mind due to his weakness. In the end, Cloud accepts who he really is and takes his company to defeat Sephiroth once and for all, given the man nearly destroys the world. Zidane himself has a pretty complex story. However, I'll try to condense it as well. Zidane began his life as an angel of death created by Garland. Long ago, the people of a planet named Terra realized that their world was dying, and as they had done several times before, they planned to save their civilization through the assimilation of another planet, Gaia. The people of Terra left their physical bodies and locked their souls in Pandemonium, to be watched over by Garland until the fusion's completion. However, the original fusion was a disastrous failure, leaving Gaia's surface in ruin and ending up with Terra shifting inside the planet of Gaia itself. Garland was given the task of removing the souls of Gaia's cycle of souls and replacing them with Terra's. Garland began to synthesize humanoid vessels called genomes that could receive the Terran souls once they were awakened from their slumber. To expedite the endeavor of draining Gaia of its inhabitants, Garland gave a soul to a new genome and gave him the name Kuja. Kuja would be Garland's angel of death, sent to Gaia to cause immense unrest and death. Garland, however, deemed Kuja a failure. Garland had made the mistake of creating Kuja as an adult, which meant he would never get to experience childhood and thus never manage to develop complex emotions, which ultimately meant Kuja could never enter a trance on his own. The dangerous mix of power and undeveloped emotions, which allowed Kuja to feel no remorse for his actions, as well as Kuja's strong will, were all too much for Garland's tastes. Secretly, he placed a limit on Kuja's life, and another improved genome was created who would eventually replace him. This genome was Zidane. Zidane was experimental in that he would live through a full life, growing up as a child before developing into Garland's Angel of Death. Growth and learning through childhood would allow Zidane to develop capacity for complex emotions, which would grant him the power to enter trance, thus making him superior to Kuja. Kuja, infuriated by Garland's decisions to create another, more powerful genome, deposited Zidane on Gaia and abandoned him there. Young Zidane, completely unaware of his mission, ended up in Limblum, where he was raised by Baku as a member of the Tantalus Band of Thieves, and only remembering one thing of his childhood: a blue light. This is basically where Final Fantasy IX begins. You start off as this thief, you don't know much about him, he likes girls, he flirts, he's happy, he's a really good character. The thing is that once he finds out what he was originally meant to do, he has emotions for the world that he grew up on, thanks to Kuja abandoning him there. So, what does Zidane do? Well, instead of wallowing like a little bitch, he takes up the challenge, fights off Garland, and saves the world from Kuja. I mean, that's amazing, considering his past. However, a lot of people don't generally know this because they didn't look into it. There was a lot more discovery in FF9 than there was in 7, given that it was just basically a game with a lot of different things. It was built differently. So you have a psychopath who wanders the world for 7 years, and a kid who takes up the fact that he's an angel of death. Who is a better personality? Well, I'd say Zidane, given that he's actually chirpy and happy considering all the shit he's gone through. Cloud, on the other hand, I'm not saying he's a bad character. In fact, I would probably say he's an amazing character compared to Zidane. However, there's just one little problem about Cloud. This problem begins with the letter C. It stands for the piece of shit prequel to Final Fantasy VII, Crisis Core. How much more can you fuck up a backstory given all the information that 7 already gave? Well, when you take Kingdom Hearts fans, a collaboration of writers that had absolutely nothing to do with the original game, add more pointless Japanese cultural references, and a J-pop song, you get Crisis Core. The most unforgiving thing was that Cloud was remodeled from a strong and enthusiastic character to a whiny emo that acts like Zack's lover. These changes, along with Crisis Core's ending, which contradicts Cloud's Deus Ex Machina complex in the original game, are fucking unforgivable. Point goes to Zidane. Now, before you click off this video because you're pissed that Cloud didn't get this point, let's analyze this just a tiny bit more, okay? Here's what I see. We got two characters that are both awesome and have complex backgrounds. But what can they do? As far as I see, Zidane can do anything he wants. He always ends up saving the day and saving the girl. This is iconic to any classic hero, and hey, it shines through very nicely in this game. Cloud, on the other hand, oh yeah. I guess when it comes to saving the woman you love, sometimes carrying a really big fucking sword doesn't really matter, does it? Cloud dons the Soldier First Class outfit that was given to him by Zack in Final Fantasy VII. It's practical, and has signs of his severs with Shinra by wearing only one shoulder guard. It's sleek, simple, and very effective. This is back when Tetsuya Nomura was still under Hinorobu Sakaguchi's gun, and not given the freedom he wanted with character designs. As such, Cloud fits in perfectly with the world, and he certainly holds a strong impression with his trademark spiked hair, skinny limbs, and incredibly large sword. Zidane is more simplistic, but this isn't bad either. Legendary artist Yoshitaka Amano was brought back as the lead character designer of 9, and it certainly shows. Zidane wears clothing that looks proper to the era and the world's civilization. It's snug and scoundrel-like in appearance, which is perfect since he is a thief. I also like that Zidane has a sheath for his dagger, something I hadn't seen on any Final Fantasy character prior to this. When I take one look at Zidane, I see that more work went behind his costume and creation than a lot of people give him credit for. Remember, he was designed like this, and made to look like this. This is a homage to earlier games, and I love the design. But which design is better? Well, this is a hard decision, but of course, thanks to Tetsuya Nomura, I can dictate who wins here. Zidane sticks to wearing his awesome clothing, and Cloud goes to wearing half a dress and a door knocker on his shoulder. Point goes to Zidane for staying practical. Given that Aerith is dead, I'm going to be comparing Tifa Lockhart and Princess Garnet till Alexandros the 17th. Both of these leading ladies have different personalities. Tifa is very shy and unwilling to admit that she has fallen in love with Cloud, even allowing Aerith to get the upper hand on her due to her assertiveness with Cloud. But going through all the obstacles that Psycho Cloud gives the company due to his condition, Tifa becomes more strong-willed and eventually admits that she has feelings for Cloud on the day before they go to attack Sephiroth, and then fuck on a rock outside of the Highwind. Garnet, also known as Dagger, or her real name Sarah, actually starts off not even being the slightest bit afflicted with Zidane's flirtatious antics. She blows him off, and uses Zidane to get what she wants, which is being kidnapped and taken to the Regent of Limblum, which is also her uncle. She ends up growing more accustomed to Zidane as she continually crosses paths with him, only to depart again and again. Each time becomes more difficult, and over time our princess realizes that she is in love with the perky thief. But which is hotter? Well, Tifa definitely has a pair of nice tits slapping you in the face over the course of Final Fantasy VII, while opposite of Tifa, Yoshitaka Amano decided to give Garnet the most luscious ass of all the Final Fantasy character females. Which do I like better, though? Will this end in a tie? The answer is